Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the WRRAP Podcast with me, Lee G, and joining me as always my co-hosts James, Jamie, and Harley. Good evening, gentlemen.
Evening.
Good evening.
So before we start, is anybody still depressed from the weekend?
No,
Me.
I'm not.
Me.
Yes.
For once, I'm not.
I was going to say, I've included you in that question, James, just based on previous, it didn't matter if they won or not, because you were just expecting the next game to be depressive. So, yeah, I'm glad that you're not fed up from the weekend, mate. I'm quite pleased with that.
Well, it makes a change, doesn't it? It's about time I get to talk about victory, quite honestly. So, yeah, I'm up for it tonight.
He's up for it tonight. He's booked a 3-hour slot, and we're all staying until Jamie's done.
We're doing a bonus pod and everything after this. That's why I didn't tell you.
You'll be on your own.
That's fine.
He'd be quite happy. He'd be just
fine with that.
Talking to the wall, going, "Did you see in the 71st minute?" Right. Let's start with a little bit of admin for this week. Who wants to go first on drink of the week? Who's got something exciting? Harley perked up. Go on in, Harley.
I haven't got anything exciting, but it is one of my all-time favourites because I've only pretty much just got in after work. So I went for my comfort cider, and so I've got a bottle of Sanford Orchard's Devon Mist. So this is the thing we were talking about, like having a nice clear beer last week. This is what I like. I like a nice cloudy cider and a clear beer. And it's a medium dry, and it just hits that refreshing spot without starting to get a bit sugary and sweet. And that's one of my preferred favourites.
Is it like a scrumpy cider?
It's not quite a scrumpy, although Sanford Orchards do a scrumpy, which is really nice. It's I said it's just on that more. It's sort of like Orchard Pig Reveller. For those of you who do drink ciders, so it's not quite. It's not a sweet cider. It's not the sort of thing that Valley's girls are asking spoons for. Put it that way.
Okay.
And if anyone puts a dash of black anywhere near it, they are being shot in my Britain.
Oh fuck! Right. Okay. I'm gonna go next then on that because you're gonna love this one, Harley. So I'm running out of beers to sample, but I will say this weekend is the start of Christmas markets around our way. So I'm anticipating quite a lot of local ciders and beers over the next couple of weeks. So I've gone for a Crane's, Harley. This is a raspberry and pomegranate cider.
That's a lovely cider.
That couldn't be much more different than yours, my friend. But
it's my beaner, isn't it?
It's
bloody cider.
It's basically alcoholic pop. Is what it is. When the pop man used to call round and you go, "Oh, can I have some ginger beer?" Because you used to think it was beer, and it's basically alcoholic Ribena. It is. So yeah. Right, James, what have you got, mate?
So I'm on the gin tonight. I've gone for a nice large
with a nice
gin.
bourbon branding as well for the people on the audio format.
I couldn't find my my normal gin glasses. And I'm quite gutted because the lemonade I put in, because I couldn't find any tonic, is blue. It's lemonade with some sort of, it's blue for some reason. My partner brought it home, but it's in a lovely Jack Daniel's metal cup that when I used to work in the pub industry, we used to get sent thousands upon thousands of promo items. So
yeah, I still got a Talisker hip flask I've never used.
I've got my favorite one. I've got is various WKD bobble hats that I pull out during winter rugby training.
Nice.
Yeah. So the gin tonight.
Okay, Jamie, what about you, mate?
Well, this will surprise you because I got a Brewdog beer tonight.
Ooh.
I know. So I don't like Brewdog, as you know, because I've never had a beer that I've liked from Brewdog, and I think they're nowhere near as good as Tiny Rebel. But I saw this on the shelves in Sainsbury's, and I thought I'm going to try it because it's a fruity beer, just to see if I would like it. So it's Silk Road. It's a lychee and mango beer. It's been out for a while. It's got on the side of the can. The road is long and fruity. Yeah, it's 6.5%. And I think, to be honest with you, this is probably my favourite Brewdog beer that I've had so far, because I've tried a lot of Brewdog beers and I just can't get into them. I just don't like the taste of them. But this is the one beer I've had. It's just like a cloudy beer, as you could see there. But yeah, it's all right. It's all right. This is the first Brewdog beer I've had, which I thought, yes, that's drinkable. I like it. So yeah, Brewdog Silk Road.
So you're not have any like guilt complex or anything like that about like cheating or on Tiny Rebel or anything?
You got to test the waters. You got to explore the field, Lee. If you get drinking Tiny Rebel beers all the time, it gets a bit boring, doesn't it? So I do want to expand a bit. And I did see that beer, Brewdog. I thought, I don't really like Brewdog. But then when I saw it was fruity, I thought, well, let's give it a try and see what's like. And to be fair, it's not bad. It's like I said, it's the first Brewdog beer I've had where I've gone, yeah, I'll drink a pint of that. It's actually all right.
I can see you sitting in your next like annual reviewing work, and you get that question: how are you pushing your boundaries? How are you expanding your horizons? Well, I've tried a couple of Brewdogs this year. I'm really pushing the boat now.
Got to be adventurous, Seeley, haven't you?
Yeah,
you got to be adventurous.
Push it.
Yeah.
Right, let's move on to some rugby stuff. You'd be very disappointed, Jim. I had when we did News Desk last week, I had a really, really good introduction, but James was adamant, mate. He was adamant that there was going to be no. So I've saved it for you. So don't worry, we're not going to do News Desk tonight. But I've got a really, really good one that I'm going to have to write down, otherwise I'll forget it. But yeah, I've got a good one lined up just for you, James, on that.
Is there any chance you could forget it?
There's a strong chance.
Not to remember it.
There's a really strong chance I'm going to forget it. So I'm going to write it. I'm going to write it on the wall in front of me and keep it there so I know and I'll remember. So, anyway, right. Let's move on to rugby matters. First game of the weekend, Zebra and Cardiff. So Harley's gone to sleep. Come on,
where am I going to start? Where am I going to start with this one? This is yet another game Cardiff could have won, and we didn't. Literally, the only game where I felt we really didn't deserve to win was the Dragons game, and it was the only fucking one we won. That's my big negative out of the way. Right. Positive was, I think, Cam Winnett's proving that he is utterly class and actually playing like you wouldn't believe that this is like his first proper full season in the senior side. I thought Reece Littrick did well for 80 minutes, though by about 60 minutes, you could see he really probably should have come off. So I think that shows a little lack of faith in Will Davis-King, because he was holding up the scrum really well. And then it got to about 60, 65 minutes and he was getting pinged constantly because it looked like he just had no energy to push anymore. And you could basically just see him buckling. I'm sure Mark from the Scarlet's Fever podcast would be able to give you some wonderful detail about his back positioning and whatever. But that wasn't great. The thing that really bothered me most about Cardiff was we were doing really well. I thought we were linking up quite well for the most part, but then dropping the ball at the key points. But as well, the time it took us to go to the width, we killed our overlap because the pass seemed to take longer than it took for the Zebra defence to run across. But the ball was in the air for ages. I'm surprised we didn't concede more intercepts, to be honest. And we weren't doing anything to condense the defence. Like, you were there looking at it and thinking, why aren't we not picking and going? Because Zebra just did not bother on the fringes, because Sam Grove White just does not really let you turn over unless you can rip it clean. But I'm not going to go into the ref because I think I said on Friday night, I'm going to have to remove myself from the Cardiff Central Twitter account because I will get the account blocked in my opinions that night. You guys is neutral. I thought there were some decent things. It's one of those really irritating things where, again, you can see the improvement and you can see the promise, but we're just not there. There's that last 5-10%, and it's just really frustrating. I know, like, we've got the Scarlets and the Ospreys here, and I'm moaning about us drawing. But at the same time, I feel like we should have done better, even in spite of everything.
So at what point in that game did you go, oh, good Lord, this is going to end up in a draw? When did you know that it wasn't going to be your night?
as soon as Sam Grove White gave Zebra a last-minute penalty to go into the corner, I just knew it was happening. It was one of those, and it was 5-10 minutes. I think I had a look at the URC stats. The last 10 minutes, 92% possession in territory in the last 10 minutes to Zebra. Look, and there were a lot of things that were definitely our problem. We did concede some silly penalties, but at the same time, there were about 4 rucks where we'd clearly had the ball in our hands, and then Sam Grove White goes, "No, leave it, let go," and you're just like, "That's a clean turnover. Why can we not just have the ball?" But I said,
I want to play with the ball. I had the ball. Let me play with the ball, referee.
When you've got players on their feet actually lifting, and to be fair, Zebra probably could have gotten a few more turnover penalties from it, because I think both sides, but especially in the last 10 minutes, Zebra were torpedoing into that. Seriously, it was prime Leinster the way they were going, and Sam Grove was not interested at all.
Can I just quickly say something? It was actually Mike Addison, the ref, on Friday night.
Addison?
It was Mike Addison.
Yeah, sure. I'm pretty sure it's Sam.
No, it was definitely Mike Addison. You've been saying Sam Grove White, and I just had to correct you at the start. It was Mike Addison.
Is it Mike Addison?
Absolutely. 100% it's Mike Addison. Yeah.
So if you had been on Twitter on Friday night, Ali, and you had
been getting a kick in for that,
yeah, you'd have been all over the shop, mate.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there were positives to that game. I just think that the negative, not the negatives, but at some point you boys have got to start doing catching practice. It just, do you know what I mean? The amount of ball that went down, you'd go in like periods, it'd be like 10 minutes where you couldn't catch anything. And then it would stick and you go, okay, yeah, you're through the phase now, and then lovely jubbly, then you scored a couple of cracking tries in that game. And then you go, we've had enough of playing proper now. We'll go back to just not catching it, I couldn't work it out.
It's really simple things like players overrunning their line and still trying to catch it, and then they're trying to, there was a knock on that Reece carried it, and he's got his arm like half a mile behind him trying to grab a ball, and it's like, it's too late now. By the time you stop and catch that, you're not going to be an effective carrier anyway, because one, you're backwards, so that's a lovely target for a tackler to have someone in the back and on the side. And it's just like, it is. It's one of those things where we're going to be nerdy men, and I feel like, and I don't. The thing I was saying on the sent to Hugh was, I can't see where our next win's properly coming. I know James is going to
sound like me now. You're sounding like me now, Harley. You've reached that stage already.
You'll be saying it's the hope that kills you in a minute, and then you're fully there.
No. I mean, it's not. I mean, don't listeners, don't pity me. Pity the beloved Francisco Isaac, who for some reason has decided to support Cardiff this season.
It's because you bullied him into it.
I didn't bully him.
No sympathy whatsoever for Francisco. He should have chose better.
What, the Dragons? Actually, one thing I do want to say, one highlight. So now every Welsh region has played a game, a derby. Dragons are currently leading the Welsh Shield. So they're pole position now. It's the Dragons to lose.
Which they will, so don't worry about that.
Here it is. It came back. That positivity didn't last long.
So I don't know about anyone else other than not being able to catch balls. If anyone else had anything, I thought Mason Grady showing maybe he is a winger, or maybe it's that George North thing of actually starting him off on the wing and then maybe bringing him in later in his career. But he's actually brilliant, and he's so lethal. Like, he catches the ball and runs it back in the backfield, and it seems to go well. But Ray Lilo still is defying time. He beat 8 defenders, which is as many defenders as Tommy Lewis missed tackles on the weekend.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And actually, I thought Alex Mann again is showing that he's pretty good. One thing though, I mean, the last point I'm going to make, and it's actually one James made to me, is Cardiff look like they don't have any leaders on the pitch, regardless of who they've got as captain. And when you look at some of the plays, you've got Thomas Williams with umpteen caps. Seb Davis has umpteen caps. Ellis Jenkins is a former club and Wales captain. And I don't get what's going on. No one's dragging Cardiff by the scruff of the neck at the end, towards the end of these games, and just say, let's just go there, kick to that corner. Great. No, don't go with your hands in the ruck. They're not stressing us. They haven't really stressed us around the fringes. Just keep your hands out. And it's.
I look at the leadership thing for Cardiff interests me because I watched Liam Belcher like quite closely on Friday, and he's a great serviceable hooker around the field, but nothing when if I was a brand new person and you put 1 to 15 in front of me and said pick the captain out of them, nothing about Liam Belcher says to me that is the captain. And the way he performs on the field as well, like nothing about him says you're the person I'm going to run through a brick wall for. And you made the point in the chat was just give it to Alex Mann. I think it's too early to give it to Alex Mann, but you look at the way he plays and the way he performs, you think yes, that is someone who Cardiff who can get behind. I think there is just a lack of leadership. I don't know whether Jockey needs to turn back to Ellis Jenkins, or does he just bite the bullet and give it to someone younger?
Because the thing is, I don't think at any point did I see Belcher having a word with the referee, and you see a lot of the best captains. It's not like you don't want them constantly harping on, but it's just that subtle word. Oh, watch out for this. I pointed out that Foxy did a fantastic bit of captaincy with a ruck time, and he pointed out that Doris was coming in and targeting Hardy, and the ref said, "Oh, I'll keep an eye out for that." And then the next ruck, Doris gets pinged for playing the 9 because it's just that quiet word in the ear. And I don't know. I don't think Belcher does it. I mean, the one time you want to do it is in the scrum, because even if you are the ones getting pasted, you still want to be telling the referee that it's the other team doing something wrong. Whether it's frustrating.
There's got to be a word for that last reaction. I
think it's a meme.
Yeah. See, I think your issue is, particularly with Thomas Williams, that
if you say the moustache, I'm gonna just walk out the court because I'm fed up of the facial hair talk. I don't think he's got the moustache at the moment, actually. Oh, no, we might do because it's November.
Yeah, it's November. He just, every year he goes through this dip when he's got a moustache, and then he miraculously shaves it away.
I don't actually think, as doing the basics of a 9, I don't think he's too bad. I just think he's not. The only issue is he's not managing the game, which when you've still got a 10 who's still learning the systems is really unhelpful. Like if we still had Lloyd Williams, you could imagine Lloyd Williams would be starting a lot more of these games. Or at least we'd certainly be coming off the bench. We certainly wouldn't be having our scrum half doing 80 every game. Because Lloyd Williams is a player, the reason why he went to 10, not Thomas, when we lost both our scrum halves a couple of seasons ago, is because Lloyd Williams has that game management side to him, even if he isn't the most exciting.
Go on, Jim. What were you going to say, mate?
Well, I cut off in it, so I don't know if this has already been mentioned, but we should remember Zebra. They did miss a lot of points off the tee, didn't they? How many points was it? Was it 11 points?
11 points off the tee, yeah.
So, I saw Cardiff fans, they were quite angry with Adamson after the game. So I pissed and moaning about the ref. And I do understand.
I'm so annoyed. I thought it was a different man. I changed him to a different man.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm also annoyed at his performance on the weekend.
Yeah. I mean, there were some contentious calls. I think one of Zebra's tries, you could argue it shouldn't have stood because it looked like blocking on Ellis Jenkins in the build-up. And I thought that was fortunate at the stand, but they allowed it. But like I said, with Zebra missing those points from the tee, they could have been well out of sight of Cardiff. And I actually thought the draw was a fair result in the end. I know Cardiff fans will be saying we should have won that, but if they had a goal kick at Zebra, they could have been well out of sight. They could have won that game comfortably. But for me, what stood out from that game was Petty Tamani. I thought he was absolutely outstanding.
Yeah.
Doing a brilliant shift, 27 carries. And a shout out as well to Willis Halaholo, because we all love Halaholo, very popular player. Although he plays for Cardiff, he is likeable. And he's done really well. On a serious point, he's really come back so well from his Achilles injury. I mean, he's still doing the sidestep, isn't he? It's like he's never been away. And I think he made a really big impact off the bench for Cardiff. So It's nice to see Hollow getting back to the hot stepping form that we know him for. So, like I said, I thought a draw was a fair result, but some positives from Cardiff. But on the other hand, Zebra, that's another game they could have won. You know, if they had a goal kicker, they'd taken their points, then that could have been another famous win, couldn't it?
But I have one thing to say about last
if Cardiff had got their last conversion, they would have won. This goal kicking, other than conversions, you can't really say, because if they'd scored a penalty, if they'd scored that first penalty, they wouldn't still be in Cardiff half to get the next attempt at a kick, which they also missed. It's one of those. But I mean, like with one of the things, speaking of Tamani, a lot of people have made a big thing of I think it was Reece Carey got turned over, and it got turned over because Tamani was taking off the ball. And it was just like,
Premier River.
Don't worry. But it's like one of those. It's just bizarre. But it was bizarre because you'd seen him get pinged for taking a player out who actually had a player run into it. Actually, I think it happened in the Scarlets game as well. I think one of them got pinged because the Leinster player just decided to run into him, and that used to be obstruction. Now it's taking a player off the ball.
Yeah. I mean, everyone's kind of wants to have some sympathy with you, Harley, but fuck it, mate.
It doesn't deserve it. No. I have no sympathy for Nicky Smith getting absolutely disintegrated at scrum time.
Oh no, I'll talk about that later. Don't worry.
Go on, James.
Speaking of props, though, and as a prop at a very terrible level, the leaving on of Reece Litterick bothered me. Because you got a prop. Even if you think Will Davis King isn't very good, right? And he's probably not the finished article yet. I haven't seen enough of him play to say, like, he's not very good.
You literally just did.
Yeah.
Anyone who plays for Cardiff is automatically bad, not like.
But to leave Reece Litterick on for 86 minutes when you're given your constant scrums under the post, Zebra were always going to go for the scrum if they got a penalty. It just seems counterintuitive and unsafe as well, because he is shagged. Let's be fair. Like 86 minutes, he's put in a shift. I don't get the thinking behind it.
No, this is something we've brought up on the Cardiff Central pod as well. I'm not getting Jockey's substitution, or rather the lack of a substitution strategy. Like some players, you'll see, right, Reece Carey's not having a great game. He's not doing what we want him to in the loose, and he's, and we're changing the picture at scrum time. Then we're getting marched backwards on Litterick's side, and he keeps him on. But also then you've got behind him, Seb Davis and Teddy Williams have punched against that, but he leaves Rory Thornton on the bench. And
no, that's fine.
It's a change of thing. I think Thornton, with line-out times could be quite helpful. But my point is, he doesn't seem to be using subs. But then at other times, he took Ellis Jenkins off at 47 minutes, which actually, to be fair, with Thomas Young, I thought he came on and did quite well. I don't get the thinking. I think that's the thing that confused me is some players he'll just take off straight away, and then others he leaves on for probably too long. And I felt that with some of the scrum half performances as well. I feel like they could have done with just changing it up, because just that injection of pace of a new scrum half, doesn't matter who it is, usually it can go utterly terribly, but quite often just gives you more speed, allows you to play at more pace.
Okay, so would anybody else like to insult Cardiff anymore before we move on? Has anybody got any digs that they'd like to make, or any boots that they'd like to put into the Cardiff performance over the weekend, just to really stick one on Harley before we move on to Scarlets Leinster?
Well, I was going to say about the kit, but I don't want to throw stones in glass houses, to be honest. So
I quite like the Bertie Bassett All Sorts kit. One thing I do want to say, I thought Ben Thomas had possibly one of his best games at 12 in a long time.
Good, yeah.
And actually, it's nice seeing him looking like he's settling, and he is definitely more of that playmaking 12 than maybe an emergency 10. And I'm hoping Jockey just says keep playing 12. I don't care what Gatlin wants. I don't care if we're short another position. I mean, now we're not short at 15. It's quite, or as short at 15. It's quite nice that we can afford to play him at 12 consistently. Because I do think that's something that messes up players a lot, is if you're constantly shifting them around.
So before we move on then, because this is relevant to all of us. So is the idea of giving younger players more game time, is that starting to pay off? Because, are we starting to see players that are now playing 3 or 4 games on the trot that probably wouldn't have had a look in last season, because of their age? Are we starting to actually see some of these players, not all of them, but some of these players are starting to benefit, and some of them are starting to actually grow into it a lot quicker than we thought they would?
It's a bit early yet, isn't it? I think.
Yeah.
I think we got to give it a good couple of years because, Cameron, it was really good on Friday, but I still thought he showed some moments of inexperience, and all these young players will. But we will see the benefit. I just don't think yet at the moment. But I think it's a bit too early to say. I know what you're saying, but I think we need to give it a good, because we need to see results as well. This is the only problem. See, when you bring in youngsters, you are sort of sacrificing results as well. So what we need is these youngsters to be fast-tracked and develop and to learn quickly. But that's going to take time. It is going to take time.
This is what I was about to say. I was on mute. This is my problem with the Tuapolota. I'm not to rag on the Scarlets, but this is the one because his stats have been put out. The Tuapolota one from Saturday night. Yeah, it's all well and good him having this great game, but Scarlett still took 50.
Not listening.
But it all depends what your version of success is in terms of bringing youngsters. If they're having really good individual performances, then by all means, yes, Cam Winnett's having a fantastic season. Alex Mann is, Reece Litterick is, but they would, like what Jamie said, we're not getting results.
But so to me, the two kind of work hand in hand. What Jamie's saying is right about it's going to take time to develop and stuff, but it's going to develop quicker because they're on the pitch. Someone like Cam Winnett probably, if let's say you had a couple of players there that you released, Sanjay. Yeah, Sanjay was still there. Chances are he would still be 15, and Cam Winnett would be sat down with the rags going, okay, do you know what I mean? So giving him that exposure is going to be.
I mean, Liam Williams is a bit of a different one, but yeah.
But you know what I mean?
It's a bad example, but yeah, I think, like for example, if we kept someone like Dimitri Arhik, we probably wouldn't have signed a Litterick. Or we might have if we lost in Lewis, and that's a straight swap. But he'd be, it'd be cameos off the bench, which actually for a young prop might be more beneficial than playing a full 80. I think because I think we've seen it before with some teams. Like again, I hate going back to the Jack Mania Dragons, but it's probably the best example of this, where you just basically get rid of everyone, chuck a load of youngsters in, and then you almost lose a cohort of youngsters because they're so jaded by getting pasted every week. And I think, for me personally, I think the best way to do it is to you've mentioned it multiple times as well, is to bring in a couple of fresh faces every couple of games and, maybe swapping them in with more experienced ones so that, Teddy Williams, I think is an example where we've done it well, where we've sort of gradually brought him in and now he's a starter. I think Cam Winnett was there or thereabouts breaking in anyway. Ben Thomas again. Alex Mann, I think, would probably ideally have been another season, but do you know what? He's playing out of his skin, and actually, I think he's probably one of the more undroppable in our back row at the moment. But would he have had that chance if we still had James Ratty? I doubt it, because I think we'd probably still be playing Ratty at 8, and then we'd have Shane Lewis Hughes at 6. Type thing.
It's catch-22 though, isn't it? We all want to see our young players develop and thrive. That's great to get opportunities, but on the other hand, we want to see results. We don't see our team losing week in, week out. And to say, but we've had so many academy boys in there. Well, yeah, on the one hand, that's fine, but if you're getting bashed by 40, 50 points, it's it outweighs it, doesn't it? The negative outweighs the good, I'm afraid. So yeah, it's a difficult one.
Speaking of getting bashed by 40 or 50 points,
indeed, that's a nice segue, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a good one. I like that.
Are we going to go slightly out of chronological order now? Then let's get there.
let's do Leinster and Scarlets and get it out of the way, and then you two can argue about who's the least shit team in Wales. Yeah, I mean, we got battered. I was surprised at the team that got selected because we dropped a lot of, senior players when you're playing a team that are as good as Leinster. I think if we hadn't have been playing the Ospreys the following week, I think it would have been different. I think a lot of those players would have stayed in. I can understand not risking Fafita. I don't think he'd have got injured. I think he'd have got carded, and I think that would have been worse. He would have been out for another 6 weeks or whatever. So, yeah, it is what it is. I think there was large parts of that game where Scarlets were in control, and it was really frustrating to see how, we rattled Leinster. We gave them a lot to think about, and then we still ended up on the wrong side of 50 points. First 15, last 15, there were 6 tries at the start and at the end of the match. You take the rest of the match out of it and you're still shipping 6 tries. So we've been saying for a couple of weeks now that there's a lot of work to do in defence, and I think both aggressively and technically, I think we're just off the pace on both of them. And we started last season like this, and it really pissed me off where we were just grabbing at air and all that kind of stuff. And then it took like 3 or 4 months to actually get sorted. And you would have thought that by now we'd have worked that out. But we seem to go backwards in defence again. And, when we lost Johnny Williams in the first 30 seconds for 10 minutes, I think that just kind of hammered us really, really hard. It exposed Tommy Lewis, something chronic on the wing. He was constantly defending 3 players. And, that's his first start. And on his first start, we didn't readjust to that quickly enough. So, there were learnings there. Yeah, it was a kick in. There was a lot of positives there. Leatherbarrow is really showing what he can do at 7. I'd still put him behind Dan Davis, in all honesty, but I'd say he's developing rapidly. Tuipulotu was, strong as meters beyond contact. I haven't seen meters beyond contact, but 2 weeks ago he was getting stopped at first contact. Now he's taking first contact and going 3 or 4 meters, and he's doing that against Irish internationals, that should have beaten New Zealand a couple of weeks ago if you listen to Ireland. So, there's a lot of stuff there to be happy about, or to be not grumpy about. You've got to find a positive in there somewhere. I think if we'd have played the first 15 and the last 15 the way we played the middle 40, it'd be a very different game. But I'm not going to put too much emphasis on it as a Scarlets fan, because it was shit. Live with it, move on. You can't dwell on it. You've got to find a way to pick yourself up and move on and be done with it.
I think for me, though, this game summed up the current mood with supporters in Welsh rugby, where you had Scarlets fans on social media after the game. You've been battered. You've had 50 plus points put on you, and they've gone, well, that wasn't as bad as I thought. I actually thought we played well. No, they were Scarlets fans coming out and saying that. And I thought, I've had 50 points put on you, lads. But I can sort of understand what they mean, because I did think Scarlets, you can't fault the effort. They did work hard. And that's the one thing you can't fault the Scarlets. They did work hard. There were patches where they worked hard defensively. But this was one-way traffic, and it was always going to be, And I think with the team selections, I was virtually Buddy Island Leinster put out, wasn't it? This was a much stronger team than the one that faced the Dragons. But it's hard to face Leinster at the best of times, especially when you're facing near full-strength Leinster and you got to go to the RDS. This game was everything I thought they'd be. I knew they'd get battered. It was one-way traffic. I did think Tuipulotu was probably his best game that I've seen from him in a Scarlets jersey, because I still think the jury's out on him at the moment. He hasn't quite lived up to the hype for me anyway when I've seen him, but I thought he put in a really good shift. Johnny Williams didn't help your cause. Their yellow card, unbelievably stupid, similar to Luke Morgan, which we'll talk about later. But he took his try well. I think Foxy, I'm afraid to say I love Foxy, but he's well off the pace. Well off the pace, I'm afraid. It was pretty much as we expected, wasn't it? But it was just it summed it up for me, seeing Scarlett's fans saying, well, that wasn't as bad as we thought, and you've had 50 plus points put on you. I mean, that is just where we are at the moment, isn't it? You know,
I think it was more to do with, there were parts of that game where we were competitive. We showed that we could be competitive. And yeah, I think that's the way a lot of us were approaching that game. I think.
Oh, Hardy was good. Kevin Hardy, that one line break he made as well. That was a really good game for Hardy.
Mixed bag's probably the best thing for Hardy, because I also thought he made some really daft decisions as well.
Yeah, he did.
And it's Hardy though, isn't it? That's what he's like.
I mean, that's Welsh scrum halves. Like, no Welsh. I've yet to find a Welsh scrum half who goes a whole season without at least one brain fart.
But this is the bit that pissed me off with him, was we were on their 22, comes from, I think it was a line-out or a scrum or whatever, and Johnny Williams takes the ball, crash ball, and Johnny Williams he did take 10 meters out of every run. I go, right, okay, you're 10 meters out. Then you come, and then I think it was a prop, or Alex Craig maybe comes on a second one, and we're literally on their line. You've then got Tuipulotu with a prop on his shoulder, as they're coming from 10 meters flat out, right in the middle of the posts, and you're going, here we go, this is it, this is the boy, this is just after we scored our try, and we build that momentum. One pass here, and he was up against at the outside half, the inside centre or something, and you're going, they're not going to stop him from there. He's going over from there. Dummies, goes to dive for the line, gets held up, gets turned over, drop out. And you're like, fucking hell, man. Of all the times to go for it, there were 4 of them stood right in front of you. They're not small boys. You can see them. The light disappears when they're in front of you. They're that big. Why the hell did you think you were going to snipe and go through? It's bits like that.
I mean, in fair to him, the snipe round the ruck has been working all the time, but he should have recognised that. I mean, there were other moments like that. I think Johnny Williams doing his crash first pass later. He missed a try where he could have probably passed to Tommy Lewis, and they left him with like a one-on-one, which you'd expect a winger to make. I just want to go something on the experience, because Leinster did have some younger players on there. That's fair enough. But in total now, Scarlets had just over 59,000 minutes of game time. 24,000 of those were Jonathan Davis and Scott Williams. And I was just having a look, and in almost every single head-to-head, the Scarlets player had less minutes other than with Jonathan Davis and Scott Williams. Like, say it was like Sam Prendergast as a new player, 218 minutes. Charlie Titcombe had just over half an hour. Bench loose heads. Jack Boyles had nearly 280 minutes. Sam O'Connor, 1. He's had before this game. He's had 1 minute of game time.
Yeah,
it wasn't an inexperienced team. I'll give them that. Other than Scott Williams and Jonathan Davis being far and away the most experienced players on that pitch.
Well, Scott Williams didn't exactly add to the amount of minutes that he was on the pitch, in all fairness.
No, I mean, if you did like minutes to contribution, he's probably on about minus 20. At least Johnny Williams was making some of those runs to make up for his moment of thickness.
I think it's been one of those things that we've been discussing. We were surprised that Scott Williams was still there this season, in all honesty. I think there's
got players like that though.
I think it's a contract thing.
Maybe held on to the sentimentality more than anything.
Well, I think they've got a 2-year contract or whatever, and end of this season. So, anyway, let's move on to something that's more interesting and more exciting. The Dragons' absolute demolition of the Ospreys, the taking apart, the picking of the bones as they laid strewn around the pitch.
That did happen.
I wasn't watching it. I was listening to it on the radio in patches, and then watching James's reactions on our WhatsApp group. And I'll be honest, James's reactions on the WhatsApp group were quite funny. I didn't need to listen to the radio half the time. I could just watch the WhatsApp group, and that tell me everything I needed to know. So, which one of you two?
Him up for these as well.
Which one of you two wants to go first? Do you want to go first, Jamie, or do you want to let James?
No, I'm happy to let James go first.
Oh, fuck off, Jamie.
No, go
on. Okay, let's get this out of the way. Full credit to Dragons; they deserve the win. From minute one, you could just tell they were more up for it. Ospreys scored a nice little try to begin with, really nicely taken. Owen Watkin goes over the game line, and then Ruben Williams puts a beautiful little dink in. Prothero goes over. Yeah, I thought that's lovely. I'll take them and let's build scoreboard pressure. And then it just went downhill. We were awful. We were genuine. That is the worst I've seen us play in a while. Let's talk about the cards quickly. Fully deserved, both of them. Prothero, absolute idiot. Look, and he obviously didn't mean to go out and hurt Will Reed, but he did, and he fully deserves to be punished. I expect him to get 3 to 4 weeks. With the way rugby is, that will come down because it's his first offence, I believe. And then Luke Morgan's could have easily been a red card if that had gone worse. Thankfully, Rio Dyer landed safely onto his. But I know Harley said in the chat that it could have well been a red card. Go on, Harley.
So my point of this is, I think it's shit that a player having self-preservation is the only thing that stops another player having a red card for basically doing something stupid. Like, I don't think that the actions, like, what you're basically saying is, if you're in a tip tackle, hold your arms in because you'll get the other player sent off.
No,
like,
I agree.
Like that,
but
I think as soon as that happens, I think it's got to be right.
That's the letter of the law.
It would have been very harsh for thing, but I mean, this is where I think I disagree with the way the laws are. I don't get why it can be a red for a player dropping into you when you're there, and you're trying to back off. And sometimes when players go up in the air and their foot's out, they're catching a high ball. But I don't like that is one where literally your ass has been saved by the other player, by the player you've done the bad tackle on. That it's. I think it's happened with Cardiff before now where we've been saved by that. And I still think it should have been a red.
And look,
if anything, you should spend the full 10 minutes with a dunce cap on for the utter stupidity of the action.
Well, Luke Morgan was born with one on.
Harley, are you still complaining about the referee in the Cardiff game?
No, this is a different. No, this is just in general.
This is a different Cardiff game. This is a different Cardiff game with a different referee.
No. I was just saying that it was more of a thing of, even when it's my team, but I still think it should be a red, just because I think I hate seeing it.
Let's go over more things that were crap. Ospreys are a 67% scrum win, right? And people have spoken to me thinking that I'm going to chastise Whitehouse for the way he refereed Nicky Smith. No, he's completely correct in the way he refereed Nicky Smith. Okay,
he's clearly boring in.
Yeah, and you can argue that Fairbrother changed his mind on a couple of them. Look, the point is Nicky Smith painted a picture to Ben Whitehouse that he was scrumming illegally, and he got penalised for it. And it's the exact same attitude that I had toward Kemsley Mathias at the Scarlets Cardiff game. Whether you agree he was scrummaging legally or illegally, he was painting a picture to the referee that that was what was happening. What was more disappointing from a Toby Booth and Duncan Jones pack is that pack didn't then go and adapt to what was happening in front of them. Because I feel like that was more disappointing to me, having watched this pack for 3 years now, this Toby Booth, Duncan Jones pack, where we've gone toe to toe with some, mighty forwards, is we didn't adapt. The lineup was poor. Dewi Lake decided to have a Dewi Lake day. Great in the loose, fantastic. I have no problems with Dewi Lake in the loose whatsoever. But he just had a Dewi Lake day. It was really tough on. I think Ruben Morgan-Williams and Jack Walsh are getting a bad rap. They had no go forward ball. Christ, they played how long with 13 men. I know they were backs that were missing, but you're still not getting go forward balls. You're having to kick. George North might as well not have played. He just wasn't there.
He's anonymous, isn't he?
there was
Absolutely
nothing
not
to me that said George North stood out in that game. You know, he
But
did more in the.
Wasn't he playing on the wing again? So
No, he was in the
centre.
centre.
they did put him at centre, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. fair enough.
I
You
imagine
know,
he spent a lot of time on the wing.
yeah, losing Tipperick is tough early on. Jack Morgan looked undercooked. You know, Ollie Griffiths, I've written down in the rap sheet. I don't know if anyone's got the spreadsheet open, but I just wrote Ollie Griffiths equals the greatest of all time because that's how some Dragons fans are now referring to him. But he pocketed Jack Morgan. That was Ollie Griffiths' best game I think I've seen him play in a good while. Kai Evans was fantastic. You know, it's heartbreaking as an Ospreys fan seeing Kai Evans play so well. You know, and this is my only criticism of the Dragons is a side that was confident would have scored 4 tries and more against that Ospreys team. And in that state they were in, Dragons only scored 2, and that just shows, I think, where there's not criticism of the Dragons in general, but more their confidence levels. Is that you clearly could tell they're not used to being in that position, so they fucked up a load of tries. You know, that one where he passed it out to the touchline and it goes out into touch should be, that's a court martial. That's unforgivable. But no, full credit to Dragons for the win. We were hopeless. You know, they dominated really from straight after our try. Can I speak on the physio versus Ben Whitehouse thing?
Well, I
Yeah.
have got that as a question, so yeah, go on.
It's flat out unacceptable what Dan Ball did. You can't, and a lot of people are using this as a way of attacking Ben Whitehouse and saying he's a poor referee. I thought Ben Whitehouse was quite controlled in how he handled that. I thought he was really a lot. I think other referees would have reacted a lot worse, and I've seen referees react a lot worse when people touch them or get physical. And I fully expect that Dan Ball and the Dragons get not discipline or citing or whatever, but a really stern talking to about that, because it does, stuff like that sets precedent, and especially so. It's nowhere near the same league, but with the Wayne Barnes stuff that happened, his interview a few weeks ago, it still sets that same precedent of, well, you can talk to referees like that, or you can treat referees like that, get physical, grab their arm or whatever. That's for me, and that's not me talking as an Ospreys fan, though. That's me talking as a fan of rugby. I think it was wholly unacceptable what he did, and I'm struggling with, should there be repercussions for it? Jamie, do you want to? What's your thought on the Dan Ball?
So I've got a
physio
very
thing?
different take that none of you are going to agree with, and probably not
Okay.
many listeners will agree with. Okay, this is an unpopular opinion. So, yes, Dan Bow, you cannot lay a finger on the referee. Completely unacceptable. And we know we have to set the example with referees. I completely get that. I didn't like the way Ben Whitehouse spoke to Dan Bow. I didn't like the way his tone, to be quite honest with you, because Dan Bow puts his hand on him. No, he shouldn't have done that. But it wasn't an aggressive action, okay? This wasn't like what you saw in the top 14 when you had the poor head coach aggressively yank the referee like that. He said, I'm talking to my players, because I had a look on Twitter. I didn't notice anything at the time in the stadium. I got home, I look at Twitter, and I see it all kicking off. So I thought, right, I'm going to watch this. We don't actually hear what Dan Bow says. All we hear is Ben Whitehouse. That's the first thing. We don't know what he's said or done. We just hear Ben Whitehouse. And then he talks to him, and I got no issue with what he says. Ben Whitehouse is perfectly within his rights to say, no, you can't, I'm not having that. That's fine.
Yeah.
But what I didn't like then, he touches his arm, right? He shouldn't have done that. But it's not aggressive. It's not threatening. He just goes, I'm talking to my players, and he puts his arm on him. And the way Ben Whitehouse goes, don't touch me. This man stays off the field. He does not come on the field again. I'm like, fuck off. This is the problem. Ben Whitehouse turns everything into the Ben Whitehouse show. So I've got no problem with what Ben Whitehouse said at first. But the moment he starts doing this, don't touch me, this man stays off the field. And it's not often I agree with Sean Holly, but he is right. It did turn into a pantomime. And he made it about the Ben Whitehouse show. And that's why I did not like the way Ben Whitehouse handled it. And I've seen people on Twitter saying, Dan Bow, he's well out the line. He was threatening, he was bullying. Bollocks.
No,
He wasn't
I
threatening.
disagree with that.
He didn't bully him. He didn't threaten him. But the grave mistake that he made was he put his hand on him. Again, not in a threatening manner, but he put it, and you can't do that. That was the biggest mistake Dan Bow made. But once he did that, it turned into the Ben Whitehouse show. And I will call that out. I thought Ben Whitehouse does not need to talk to players like that. And this is what happens with Nigel Owens as well. As much as I love Nigel Owens, I never used to like the way he sometimes talked to the players. Talk to them properly, or the coaches. They're not children, So when I see people say, oh, he dealt with it well, he did at first, but then he completely went over the top, in my opinion. That reaction was an overreaction. Instead of calmly de-escalating it, he escalated it and made it a mountain over a molehill. And look, I have absolutely no doubt Dan Bow, he will face some sort of punishment from the RC. They'll probably ban him from the touchline. Who cares? What's going to happen there? Dragons just send another, coach on, another water boy on to relay the message. So Dan Bow is out the line. I'm not defending Dan Bow at all, just to be clear. You can't touch referees. You can't lay a finger on them. But I didn't like Ben Whitehouse's tone, the way he spoke to him. And I'm telling you now, Ben Whitehouse is either very brave or he's very silly, because the one person at Rodney Parade you don't want to upset is Dan Bow. Because anyone who watched him in his Cardiff days, you'll knock 7 shades of shit of you. That guy is fucking hard as nails. So Ben Whitehouse want to be careful about who he picks as his enemies, is all I'm saying. But that's my take on this.
Gets a lifetime ban from then he gets a lifetime ban from the stadium. Yeah. So
well, of course,
you said it there. You did say there you shouldn't have touched him. What you should have just done is,
what I meant, not literally.
It and then gone. That's it. That's all it had to be. Dan Bow went and got to grab his attention again when Ben Whitehouse has said that. I agree. Ben Whitehouse does it. He does seem to want to make a drama out of it.
He did.
But you said it yourself. He shouldn't have done it. I think for me that's the end of how. So
I think the issue is.
I didn't mean literally knock him out. Do you know what I mean? I'm just saying that he's very hard, But this, that was my take.
But the same as Scrum Haas chatting shit to second rows now. They know they're not going to get decked, so they can.
I think the issue is right. That you got two parts to it. You've got the Ben Whitehouse part, which is he knows that he's had quite a few iffy games in the past, and he knows that he's under a lot of scrutiny. Yeah, there's a reason why he's been TMO on a lot of games for a long time, and not on the pitch. So he knows he's under scrutiny on that. So that's your first bit, right? So everybody said that Dan was out of line and stuff, but when you're a referee, if that was another player, if you've seen players getting pulled out of rucks and this, that, and the other, and you have a little bit of handbags and push on, and there's nobody makes anything of it, because you've got 15 great big motherfuckers on that side, and we got 15 big motherfuckers on this side, and 6 of you start, and 6 of these start, and you all cancel each other out. When you're a referee in the middle, you've got 15 people on that side that don't like you, 15 people on that side that don't like you, on a whole stadium that thinks you're wrong around the outside. You've got 2 little scrawny gits on the sideline waving their flags going, I'll support you, ref. That's about your limit. So I can understand why he gets a bit kind of like, right, don't go there. He's under a lot of pressure. And they say Dan's a big guy anyway. When you stand next to Dan, he's not particularly tall. He's more round and square and solid than he is tall. So, that can be a bit intimidating. So I kind of get that reaction from him. But at the same time, I think an experienced ref, not an experienced ref, you don't need to be experienced. Somebody with a bit more confidence in who they are as a referee would go, whoa, Dan. Whoa, listen, dude. I'll ref. You touch them, not me, and you and I will get along fine. Now let's go play the game. Do you know what I mean? But that takes a lot of self-confidence. And having been there and having been that referee in the middle, even at lower league things, when you're completely exposed, it's not a pleasant feeling at all. So I don't like Ben Whitehouse, as you will have heard in the past, But
I don't mind Ben Whitehouse, so I defended him on this pod. And like I said, as soon as he touched him, that was it. But let's be honest, it wasn't an aggressive, it wasn't a grab, it wasn't a push. He didn't yank him. He just sort of put his arm and say, Ben, I'm talking to my place, and he put his hand in. But that was it then. When that happened, which is Dan's fault, like I said, I'm not justified. What I didn't like then, and I will call it out, I don't care if people disagree with me, it became the Ben Whitehouse show. Don't you touch me and all this bollocks. No need for that. Another ref wouldn't have done it like that. You said, Dan, we'll talk about this later. No, go back. Another ref, I felt, would have calmed it. But for me, he escalated it. And then it became a huge social talking point on social media. And I suspect the URC will, he will be in hot water, Dan Bow, and they probably will give him a touchline ban. But so for me, it's mixed feelings. Dan Bow's out the line. Don't touch the referee. But at the same time, can we not have a bloody drama queen, someone blowing it up, when there was absolutely no need to? Because a calmer, more cooler ref, a more experienced ref would have been like, no, Dan, we're not having this now. Please go back. We'll talk later. So,
what I will say about social media, Jade, that impression that you just done is definitely being clipped, and that's going on social media, mate.
It's true, though.
That's definitely going on there, mate.
When I read the comments, you'd have thought he bloody killed him. And then when I went home, I'm like, is that it? But Dan Bow out of line, and he will.
Let's talk about the game.
I have one more thing I want to talk about the game. Not about Dan Bow and Ben Whitehouse. Is Toby Booth, right? He is coming under a lot of fire and a lot of flack on socials. Well, this is what I want to come on to now. If you listen to this podcast and genuinely think that Toby Booth should walk, give your head a fucking wobble, right? Because he came into this job where we were in a position where we'd won 2 games all season. Okay, one of them we didn't deserve to win, and we lost to the fucking Southern Kings at home with Alan Wynne-Jones and Justin Tipuric on the pitch, right? He came in during a shit show. Yes, right, you can argue, he hasn't done anything to the Ospreys. We haven't won anything. We haven't gotten to playoffs, whatever, right? Don't give a fuck. We are in a better place than we were when he took over. Okay? We have got better personnel. We have got better coaching setup. Our academy is probably a stronger point than it was then because it was producing much. Okay? And for those tagging Toby Booth on social media, give your head another wobble. That is just bang out of order. It was a bad game. All right, the Ospreys probably, I say this in caveat, probably will never play that bad again this season. Okay, Toby is a fantastic coach, right? He's proven himself. He doesn't need to prove himself to anyone. He is popular. They will bounce back. Okay, Toby Booth should not go anywhere. Mark Jones should not take over just because Mark Jones has worked for the Crusaders, right, and worked for the under-20s. Right, does not mean that he is ready to take over as a head coach yet. Right, I fully believe that Mark Jones will be coach for one of the 4 regions soon. Okay, but he does not need that pressure on him yet. Let him establish himself first, and then go from there. Let Toby Booth finish his contract. You utter fucking tossers. Thank you.
I love the way the Ospreys improve.
And
Jamie,
that was James's TED Talk.
Yeah. Jamie, we haven't heard about the actual game. Tell us how you thought the. Should we just let James carry on about just how shit the Ospreys were, and you can just sit there and bask in the enjoyment of it for a while?
Just so we can finish on some positives, could I pick on one thing that really bothered me?
No, let Jamie talk about the
let Harry have this moment.
I want Jamie to finish on his high. I want him to finish his high as
the
current pole position for the Welsh Shield.
Go on, yeah. So
I got really annoyed with how much Dragons kept trying to take it through the forwards when the space was out wide. And they lost 2 wingers and they kept trying to go through the forwards. It really bothered me because they kept getting turned over at like Maul and Ruck. And that was it. That was my only niggle.
Okay. Jamie, you have the floor. It's all yours.
This is why this game is my favourite derby. Because when Ospreys come to town, there's something about it that just brings out the best in the Dragons, And the game there's never dull moments in this derby, except when we go to Swansea. Whenever we go to Swansea, it's always one-sided and it's quite boring. But when the Ospreys come down here, it's always a good game. There's always something happening, and it is my favourite derby. I love it. And it's interesting, isn't it? So in the week, Dave Flanagan was saying that the shackles are going to come off and don't worry about the result, which I thought was quite brave and a quite interesting thing to say, considering they lost their first 4 games. To say the result, don't worry about it. It's like, no, we do need to worry about it. We need a win. And they played like they desperately needed to win, didn't they? And fair play, I thought it was a really, really good performance. And it wasn't the best start, as James mentioned, in the 5th minute. Matt Prothero dots down. It was a lovely kick from Ruben Williams, but it caught Dragons napping. And I did think to myself, oh, here we go, because I wasn't feeling confident at all about this game. When you look at the squads on paper going into it, and when they scored in the 5th minute, I thought this could be another long afternoon for the Dragons. But I thought Dave Flanagan was right with after the game. I thought for the first 20 minutes, even before the red card, we were well on top. We were outstanding. Even when the Ospreys scored, I still felt that we were the better team. And I thought Barry Roberts was terrific. Took his try really well. Funny tackle attempt by Luke Morgan, though. I mean, I'm still trying to work out what the point of Luke Morgan is, to be honest, because every time he comes down here, he never has a good game, Luke Morgan. I don't know what it is about him. And then when the yellow card at the end, I think that just sums it up, really. But no, I mean, look, going into 13-5 half time, I felt confident, but not too confident because, I know Ospreys were down to 14, but this is the Dragons. I know what they're like. They've bossed up winning positions so many times. We saw it against Edinburgh in the first game. So I was always wary that the Ospreys could come back. But I was just really surprised that as good as we were, and I was very pleased with our performance, I was really surprised at how lacklustre the Ospreys were because they offered nothing at all. We were in total control of the Dragons, and I did not expect that. The scrum, my goodness, it was like watching South Africa scrum. I mean, that first half, Rodri Jones, who I criticised quite heavily on the Dragons pod, against Leinster, he should have saw a yellow card, Rodri Jones. He was in deep, deep trouble. And I was dreading scrum time, but fair play. He did a job on Tom Balfour, didn't he? Fair play, he did a really good job. And Lloyd Fairbrother won a couple of penalties against Nicky Smith. I was genuinely surprised how well the scrum went. So I think that gave us a good footing. Kai Evans was excellent. I don't know why people make these weird comments about him because he's a tidy player. And he is a Welsh international now, and people need to deal with it and accept it. Doesn't matter if Ian Evans is his dad or not. He's a fucking good player. He was excellent, Kai Evans. Excellent. Rio Dyer was really, really good. I actually thought it was always going to be a toss-up for me for player of the match between Kai Evans and Rio Dyer. I thought Rio Dyer was outstanding because he's working so hard lately. I've spoken before on the pod. He's working really hard, but he's not getting much reward for it. And he caused Ospreys so many problems. I mean, that line break, which should have resulted in a try. Of all the people, and now even knowing his distribution is so good, and it was the equivalent of an open goal. I mean, you could argue that because it happened right in front of us. I guess the one criticism I could have, maybe you and Ross could have cut in a little bit more, but that was a butchered try, and that should have been scored. And I completely agree. Look, we should have scored more. We should have scored more tries. We should have got a bonus point. But I'm not too bothered about that because we just needed to win. No. It was all about the result on Saturday. Bonus points are what they are. They're just bonuses. We just needed to win. And we did that. And it was a huge relief. You could sense the relief. You could feel the weight being lifted off the shoulders by everyone in the stadium. It was a brilliant atmosphere. It was our highest crowd this season as well. It was over 6,000. It was a great atmosphere. Lots of Ospreys fans turned up. It was just a really, really good afternoon. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. And we go to South Africa now with a bit of confidence because had we lost this one, and then you got to go to South Africa, it's looking really grim because you're looking at 0 from 7 now, but at least we can go to South Africa now with a bit of momentum and a bit of confidence. And let's be honest, our attack is poor. It's not clicking, it's clunky, it's stodgy. And I think our front five is still a little bit underpowered. But what's pleasing is we are creating opportunities. We're just not finishing them. I'd be far more worried if we weren't creating any opportunities at all. But our problem is once we get into that red zone, once we get into 22, we are butchering a lot of chances, and we've got to be more clinical because that's the difference between us and the best teams. Your Leinsters, your Munsters. Once they're in the 22, they always look like they're going to score. They look like they know what they're doing. And then every time we get into the 22, sometimes we make such hard work of it. And, we look for the miracle pass. So we try an inside ball, we spill it, we knock it on and we throw it into touch. So the attack is a big, big work on. But I'm just really pleased with the result because we needed that. We
You're not going to
absolutely
talk about the
needed
forward
that win.
pass as well, for that try?
There was no forward pass. It was flat.
I
It was
think you'll
flat.
find it was aggressively flat.
No,
It was flat.
I'm clutching at straws. Like I said, Dragons, and I didn't want to sound like I was criticising the Dragons too much. I more meant that you could tell that they weren't in that position a lot in terms of not scoring and getting that bonus point. And like Jamie said, they are just bonuses. On the Dragons crowd, I just want to give a shout out to WRRAP. I think if I'm saying your Twitter handle right, or X handle, I'm sorry, or if I'm saying it wrong. He tweeted the Irie account after the game on Saturday saying, despite the result, he had a great first-time visit to Rodney Parade. We're right in the middle of the compete stand amongst the diehards, but made to feel very welcome and had some lovely chats. And look, ultimately, we podcast about a children's hobby. You know, a game. It's a game at the end of the day, and yeah, it hurts that we lost. But actually, seeing that tweet come through to the Irie account cheered me up a bit because he got up to Dave Parade for the first time, met some lovely people at the Dragons, and the Dragons fans generally are, I think, the nicest of the bunch of the four.
So just on that then, and that kind of thing, we started doing this on Scarlet's Fever at the start of the season, and I was going to kind of see if we can get it going with everybody else, where people kind of do a couple of video diaries of their day. So you've probably seen Hugh's one, but yeah, just doing like a video diary of the day before. Some people may go for a pre-match drink or 2 or 7, and I've seen a couple of those around, and I've seen a couple of people that go for a pre-match drink and don't actually make the match. But just doing a couple of snips through the day of this is how it's going and all of that kind of stuff. It's really, really good, especially like you say, if it's your first visit to a stadium. If it's your first visit to your home stadium, it's really special. But if it's your first visit to an away stadium, so what I was going to say was to listeners is just to do that and send it into our pods, whether it's the main one or whether it's our feeder pods, and we'll just post them out, because stuff like that it's really nice to see. It's a bit fluffy and all of that, but it is really nice to see, especially when you see kids visiting the stadium for the first time. And and as much as Jonathan Davis is probably a little bit beyond it, but he's like the Pied Piper when he's at the Park of Scarlets. There's a queue of kids behind him going, can I have a signature? Can you do this? Can you do that? And all that kind of stuff. So if you are listening and you fancy it on Saturday or Sunday, then do give us a video diary and we'll post it out, because it's quite cool. And
I would say that was the best atmosphere so far this season at Rodney Parade. Even before the game ended, there was a buzz about. And again, I don't know whether it's because it's a derby or because of the timing, Saturday night. There was a really good atmosphere in the ground, and it felt a little bit like the old days, and that was nice, compared to what it was with Cardiff on a Sunday afternoon. It was utterly miserable, the worst ever atmosphere I've ever experienced for a derby, but it was really, really good. But did anyone notice, just one thing though, because did you watch this game on the TV? You didn't see it on TV, Lee, did you?
I didn't see it, no.
So I watched it back. And it was a classic case of commentator's curse. Martin Gillingham, who is a good rugby commentator, right? So Dragons win a penalty. It's the 44th minute. Kai Evans steps up. And it wasn't an easy penalty, but it was a kickable penalty. And he goes to take it. And just before he kicks it, Martin Gillingham says, he's been good tonight, Kai Evans. Kicked him, fucking missed. And Richard Evans went, oh, commentator's curse there. It's like, bastard. I hate it. Do you guys hate it when that happens, though? I hate it when commentators do that, but that was the only thing.
What did he say for Luke Morgan then? Oh, Luke Morgan's going to line up a good tackle then, is he? And then he fucking drops him on his head.
No one has ever said Luke Morgan is a good tackler.
To be fair though, Hibbar was right. What he said on comms, he said, as soon as you lift a player above the horizontal, you're always asking for trouble. And he said, look, if Rio didn't put his arms down, he would have gone on his neck, and then it would have been a red. But it was only the fact he put his arms down that saved him. But he is spot on, mind. You lift the player up and you put him over the horizontal, you're asking for trouble.
Silly
Speaking
fucker.
of things that came up on the TV, what the fuck was up with those fireworks? It took 20 minutes. It seemed like 20 minutes before the fireworks stopped.
It was really annoying. So, first of all, it's nothing to do with the Dragons. That was because Newport switched on their Christmas lights, and it was at the exact same time as kickoff. It was 5:15, and they always have a firework display when they switch on the Christmas lights. So that's what that was. And
That
it
sounds like
was
poor
pretty
planning.
annoying because it was poor planning. Yeah, it's pretty annoying because
It's
it
almost
was
like
off-putting
it's
for a
almost like
start.
the WRU don't have a calendar of important events when they go to sort out URC fixtures.
Well, I blame Newport Council actually for this. We're not so much URC or WRU,
Yeah, but if
but
it happens every
it
year,
was really
you should know it happens.
no, it doesn't happen every year. Some days it don't clash, but it was just the fact that it was really off-putting because they were happening right in front of us. I'm in a Bisley, so I got my one eye on the rugby, and I got the one eye on the fire. It was a very good fireworks display, I might add. It was very, very good. But then they were so loud, and then the mist. You had the mist from the fireworks coming onto the field, so then became smoky. So I mean, it must have been off-putting for the players as well. I think that's why Jack Walsh missed that conversion after they scored, because they were going off like crazy when he was taking his conversion.
I just thought that's what Newport always sounded like, and it was just constant gunshots and bangs and smoke everywhere.
Funny thing is, we have fireworks every single game, which does annoy me because there's no need for it. I don't know why we have fireworks. So we have them at the start.
No money, June.
But that's what it is.
Spending it all on fireworks.
Yeah.
We have them when they come out, always. And then if we do win, which is not very often, but when we do, we get the fireworks out again. So, it was fireworks central on Saturday.
At least it's a special occasion thing, then.
Absolutely. Yeah, you got to make
actually getting a home game and a home win. Because we mentioned Martin Gillingham. Right, James, as you're the Osprey here, how do you pronounce your fullback's name? Because he's been saying it for the last few weeks as Nagy, and I've always heard Nagy. And the commentators say Nagy.
I'm pretty sure it's
just
Nagy.
So I'm correct going further. Okay, so it should be Nagy.
When I spoke to him briefly in university, I'm pretty sure it's Nagy. But he's given up.
Gillingham is right. Okay. It's one of those things. I had the same issue with Semi Randrandra, and I couldn't work out where the extra N was coming from until someone explained to me.
Is his heritage Eastern European?
I believe it is. I'm not going to put down where it is because he has said it before. So in an interview,
I said this after Judgment Day last year, where me and Carwin were sat there, and Carwin just has this ability to talk to everybody in the crowd. He's really fucking annoying because he can't sit still. It's like having a 3-year-old with you. But he got talking to these Osprey supporters just along from us, and he said something like, Nagy's having a good game, and he said, no, the Y is silent. He said it's a Hungarian name, and the Y is silent, and it's Naj or Nag. Naj is how it's pronounced over there. I was watching the game, and Carwin was getting a lesson in fucking speaking Hungarian from some guy down the other end of the stadium. But that's I don't know how, because obviously you change how you pronounce your name according to what you are. But that's what this guy was saying.
It's a similar thing, isn't it? It's like Pivats and Tipperich or something like that. Something like that's supposedly yeah. Even though no one in Wales
with the Tipperich one, I'd count to ask him to spell his own name, and he'd probably struggle. So I think we just stick with Tipperich.
What, Justin? Yeah, I agree.
So, Lee, speaking of Carwin, did you hear off him at all this weekend? Any comments to the pod or anything regarding this game?
Strangely quiet, but
what a surprise! It's funny, isn't it? When Ospreys win, he's fucking piping up.
Yeah, I know.
Tweeting the pod. When they lose, you don't do it off him.
I will say he was in London for the weekend for his kid's birthday.
That's no excuse.
Went to London the wrong weekend.
Yeah,
they played in London a couple of weeks ago.
Well, let's look forward to this weekend. Yeah, we do. Because
I'm not looking forward.
Well, okay, let's start on the positive then. Let's start at the end. Sharks versus Dragons, because Jamie, you're coming off a big, massive win, destroying a fellow competitor, and then you're going up against the bottom team in the league. So got to be going in with a fair bit of confidence on that one. So what's your thoughts and what's your prediction on that one?
Well, yeah, I mean, like you said, we will go into with a fair bit of confidence, have another really good win, but South Africa is a very difficult place to go. Welsh sides traditionally don't do well in South Africa. Yes, the Sharks are terrible. Don't even mention the Cardiff result, because that was a complete one-off fluke. It'll never ever be repeated again. Don't even bother mentioning it.
We're undefeated against the Sharks in the URC, I think you'll find.
It is harder to play them on their own patch, isn't it? And look, they're going to fancy their chances against us, no doubt about it. I'm quite interested to see what their team will look like. Are they going to start now integrating Springboks, because they've lost every game so far and the pressure's got to be building, isn't it, on John Plumtree? So I'm guessing he's going to try and integrate some more Springboks. We haven't got Ben Carter for this tour. Unfortunately, he suffered a hamstring injury against the Ospreys, and we won't have Dan Lydiate because of a rib injury. So I'm not too sure what the injury situation is going to look like, how many players we're going to have available. But
you have got Harrison Keddy, though.
Harrison Keddy is due to come back, from concussion, which is a boost.
Ollie Griffiths survived the game.
Yes, he got through unscathed, which is brilliant. So I'm waiting for a couple of days just to hear something like Ollie Griffiths torn a muscle or a pec or a hamstring. So I'm not getting too excited, but he may be available for the South Africa tour. But I think with the South African tour now with the Dragons, I don't want to sound negative or defeatist, but it is a free hit for them, because nobody's expecting the Dragons to do anything in South Africa. Nobody's expecting them to go out and win. And Dave Flanagan said, we can go out there. He talked about the weather and the pitches suiting the Dragons, the fast track. And I just want to give it a good crack. I don't want it to, and I'm not just saying this for wind up, I don't want it to turn into what the Scarlets went through this year. But in fairness, I would much rather Dragons to be facing Sharks and Lions than having to face Bulls and Stormers, because if it's two teams that I think the Dragons could beat, it's probably going to be Sharks and Lions. They wouldn't stand a chance against Bulls. They wouldn't stand a chance against Stormers. So I think these are winnable games, but it's very, very difficult because, like I said, in South Africa, all our teams struggle out there. So it's not going to be easy. But as long as they go out there, give it a good crack, and they're competitive, chuck the ball about, if they come back with a couple of bonus points, I think that's a good return,
So what's your
imagine
prediction?
Losing to the Lions, eh?
Huh?
Fuck off, Harley.
Oh, dear.
So your prediction, your prediction for this weekend?
I do think Sharks will get their first win for the URC. I can just see it, unfortunately. As much as I think they're really, really bad, despite all the quality they got, they just don't function as a team today. It's a really strange team. I'm going to go for Lions by 8, I am, on this one. I just think what worries me with the Dragons, I do think if the attack clicks, they can cause some problems out there. But I do wonder about our front five, because as we know, the Dragons do not have a strong front five. And yes, the scrum went well against Ospreys. How's that scrum going to go against the Sharks? How's it going to go against the Lions? It's going to be difficult, I think. But I'm going to go for Sharks by 8.
Sharks by 8. Okay.
Yeah.
Harley,
this is getting weird.
This is getting weird now, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Jamie
and it'll make sense now, because I have also predicted Sharks by 8.
Oh, here we are then.
And
because
so
I think I can see they did actually have some box back, because Lucanian played last week against Connacht. But then that was their first week back home after travelling and being on the road. So I don't know if it's continued. So it could be an awful lot more. But I'm thinking Sharks by 8, and I think that'd be respectable. I think ideally for Dragons, if they can get 2-3 points out of this tour, I'd call that success. Maybe a couple of try bonus points, maybe getting one game within 7. I'm not sure it'll happen, but I think would be, especially with Welsh regions, we're grading on a curve. We're not up with the rest of the regions in the URC. So I think a couple of points in South Africa is actually really good for any team.
Yeah.
Okay, James, you can join the Sharks by 8 party.
I would just like to say that I put Sharks by 8 first.
We've all got Sharks by 8.
Your predictions have not come up on the sheet that I put mine in.
No, mine have been on. Mine have been on since I was writing Luke Morganish shit in the rap sheet. I think that Kai Evans' boot will be key in South Africa. He's got a big old boot on him. I just think that'll keep that can and will keep Dragons in the game. I can remember back on their tour to South Africa last year. Was it the Lions game last year? They looked good in patches. I think that was out in South Africa, James. Am I right?
Yeah, they played the Lions. They played the Stormers. They actually got 2 points out of the Stormers game, because they were getting swallowed at half time. They came back. They scored 4 tries, and they came within 7 then. So Yeah, they should
So
have
I
beat the
think-
Lions as well last year.
Yeah,
so.
if they play smart and they kick when they need to with Kai, and Kai could put them in good positions off the boot, both off penalties and in open play, I think Dragons stand a much better chance than if they went out there with Jordan Williams at fullback.
Oh God, yeah, absolutely.
I
So
don't know
I
what the
think
weather's
that's
going to be
where-
like, but in Durban they do have propensity to quite often have torrential downpours, which might help as well. And despite that, the Sharks seem to not be able to play in the wet, and you can draw, and that's just funny on many levels. But
They can't play in the dry either, so
they just can't play in London.
My prediction on that is going to irritate you again, Jane, but I've gone for a Dragons win. I just think it's starting to click for them. I genuinely do, and I think you'll nick it. It'll be a penalty or whatever. I think you'll hold them. I just don't think the Sharks are anywhere near where they want to be or where they could be. So I think, yeah, it'll be one of those games where you'll find yourself in the game with 5 minutes to go, and then it'll be a penalty, and you'll win by 2. So I've gone Dragons. Dragons.
What are you going for?
Dragons by 2.
I'm just looking at the weather forecast. It says light rain showers and light winds, so there may be a bit of rain. It could get a bit greasy. So I don't think that'll suit the Dragons over it's raining. I think it'd be better if it's a dry day, so you can chuck the ball about. I'm not sure that's going to help us.
I don't know, because the Sharks do have their back three is actually quite lethal as well. Particularly with Kai Evans kicking long, he's also going to be very accurate with it as well. Because Aflea, Fassi, and Willencock.
Let's be honest, boys.
Just horrid.
Let's be honest. The Ospreys beat them, so fuck's sake,
Oh, that Cardiff has beaten them twice.
Well, there you
fuck
go.
off, Harley.
Right, Cardiff and Stormers. Harley, over to you.
The only my one positive is we beat them at home last year. I don't see a repeat happening. And I think it's going to come down to the same sort of issues we've had all season. Is I don't think our red zone efficiency is good enough. We're just not converting and when we do convert, it's taking too long. I think we do have struggling game management wise, and that was a big thing that won us the game against Stormers last time out. Was that we had people like Reece Priestland and Lloyd Williams who could control the game and keep us in the right areas and minimise mistakes. If it's going to go well, I think our kicking game has to be absolutely on point. And again, they've got Warwick Lance come back, and they've got a lot of very good back three players. And Manny Lebok, if he's back as well, he's going to be carving up because he's very much a running 10. His goal kicking's terrible, so we might be able to keep in it from that. But I think for the most part we're going to struggle. So I'm hoping it's going to be close. So I'm predicting Stormers by 6. Now Lee's gone off for a dump, so I'm going to pass it on to the two J's. So what do you two both think?
Go on, Jamie, you can go first.
So here's the thing, right? I think Cardiff are going to really annoy their fans. I know they do every season, but I think this is a season where they're going to really underperform when people expect them to, but they're going to pick up shock results when people least expect them to. And I think this is one of those games where they could potentially upset the apple cart, because I don't like writing Cardiff off at the Arms Park, because I think they can upset a lot of teams at the Arms Park. And, they beat them there last season, as Harley mentioned. And logic does say the Stormers should be too strong for Cardiff. They should. But I just got this feeling that Cardiff can turn them over at the Arms Park. I don't know why, I just do. And look how good they were against the Bulls. They should have beaten the Bulls, shouldn't they? If their execution was better, similar with the Dragons, if they make less errors, if their execution is better, they win that game. But I don't know, I just got a feeling Cardiff are going to nick this, so I'm going to go for Cardiff by 2. I hope I'm wrong, of course, but I do think Cardiff will win by 2.
Cool. Okay. So I nipped out there. James, have you done yours?
No, I've gone for Cardiff by 7. I think the jammy fuckers will do it. By hook or by crook, I genuinely think that they'll do it. And I don't think it'll be pretty. I don't think we'll see it much of the free-flowing rugby we saw in Zebra. I think they'll try and tighten it up, genuinely. I think they'll move. I think Grady. We might see Grady back in at the centre.
I
Look,
don't know. I
just-
think Lilo's in such good form. I think you've got to have your best 13 there. As much as I like
I'm just
Brady,
thinking of
he's doing it.
managing his minutes. That's all.
I think that's part of the reason why Halahola came on for him. So I think we'll probably see. And I don't think we've got. I think the new signing,
Came away.
the WRRAP from Bath. He's, I think he might end up coming in because he's apparently doing quite well in training. But I think we're still quite light in the back three that you might be using Grady.
But I just think it'll be like
There's
a jammiest try. It'll be like a Will Davis King interception or something, or a fucking.
I would love to see that.
Rory Thornton falls on a ball over the try line by accident or something.
Started and because he's so tall, you started on the halfway. You just happened to go that the right way.
No, I just think I a bit like Jamie. I think I hate writing Cardiff off at the Arms Park.
It's tough to beat at the Arms Park.
I've seen us cock it up there
Yeah.
too. When he often, I blame the two derbies against Scarlets and Ospreys. To be honest,
It's our fault now.
That made me realise that maybe we're
Never
not
Cardiff's fault, is
we
it?
thought.
Or the ref's fault.
Yeah.
It was the ref's fault, isn't it?
So for those that missed that was a compliment from James where he said the jammy fuckers might nick it. That's an Ospreys compliment. And then Harley replied with, "It's everybody else's fault for playing us before." So that's the level we're at.
I mean, I'm not saying. No, I'm just saying I don't think the Arms Park is as much of a factor as people make out. I just don't think crowds are there.
No. So I think the Stormers will just be too strong. I think they're building something really big, and I think you're in for a tough night. I really do. So I've gone Stormers by 10.
I'm slightly worried now because Lee's agreed with me, which makes me think actually maybe Cardiff will win now.
No, I just think we'll discuss the league in a minute, boys, and we'll see who's where. Yeah. But I'm going Stormers by 10, but I would not be at all surprised if it's more.
Did you see the Munster game, the Munster Stormers game? Stormers did push Munster really hard in that game, in fairness.
That was from, I've only seen the highlights, but for what highlights they could pull together for a low scoring game, that seemed really intense and awesome and well worthy of a billing.
And yet I can still see Cardiff nicking it. I don't know why. I just got a feeling Cardiff would
that's why I've got.
They shouldn't win it.
It's the same voice in your head that says Dragons will never win against Cardiff, and it's going to happen. And I reckon it'll happen Boxing Day.
But will I be alive to see it? That's the question. Will I be alive?
I didn't say which boxing. So was that game against Munster the Stormers' first game on their trip abroad?
I think it might be this second, but
second or third.
Third.
Because when I spoke to Rito from Stormers a while ago. He's a really good guy to talk to. We should get him on here. He's a really nice guy. And he said they always struggle in week 1 and week 4. Week 2 and 3, that's when they're really hitting the ground running. So that's
it'll have to have been 3. It's either 2. It's definitely 3. The third one, because obviously they played you in week 2 in round 2 at home. So it'll be week 3.
Yeah, we played them out.
But then again, Bulls are week 4, and they looked it.
Anyway,
and they still managed to do us.
You're fucked whichever way you go, Harley, in my opinion. Right, let's move on to Ospreys and Scarlets. So, James, I'm going to let you go first on this one because I'm loving your prediction on this, mate. I'm going to put this in big, shiny, sparkly things everywhere. Let's skip the bullshit, James. Yeah. Let's just go. What your final prediction is?
Do you want to borrow that? Do you want to borrow that, James? And I'm doing this for the audio listeners. I'm pointing to the Scarlet shirt in my background.
I have gone for Scarlets, I think.
Sorry, I didn't hear you there, James. A bit louder, mate. I didn't quite hear.
Scarlet's my 6-year-old fucker. Right. So I'm hopefully going to be at this game, which will be nice because I don't like missing West Wales derbies. I missed last year's demolition of pathetic 14-man Scarlets because I was in London for Christmas. But
15, you had the ref. The ref was
the ref, the bloke who works in KFC, the car park valet. Yeah, whatever it all. No, I just I flip-flopped on this prediction, and it's probably a bit trying a bit to do reverse psychology by me. And Ospreys need a reaction. I don't think this is the game to get a reaction. There is no bigger game for an Ospreys player or fan than the old enemy, than the noisy neighbours from across the estuary. Like but unfortunately, there is no worse game to come out of losing badly to the Dragons with a red card and a brain dead yellow card and an injury to your club captain on a miserable night in Newport. And the next game you got to do is face your bitter rivals. And I just think that it's going to be Scarlets by 6. Do I hope it's going to be Scarlets by 6? No, I hope you put 50 on you and you go home crying. I just don't see it happening.
We have 50 put on us in Leinster. Nobody is crying, mate.
Yeah,
Trust me.
but and it sounds weird, and a lot of people have said this. You've sent the Shags out to Leinster. You've taken 50, yeah, but it's one of the better games to take 50 on. Do you know what I mean? You come back with no injuries, essentially.
Mm.
You've come back with key players rested, players performing like Tuipulotu. You go into it with, you're not expected to win this game, I don't think. Ospreys, I think the pressure is all on us.
Mm.
Whereas we've come out, both our wingers are thick. One of them's going to be banned, and hopefully the other one's going to be dropped. A club captain's broken his thumb. Yeah, we're going to have to start Daniel Casende and some bloke from Town Hill on the wing. There's so many things that are up against us this week, and they're not excuses; they're just facts. And I hope I'm proven wrong. Please prove me wrong, but I'm gone for Scarlets by 6, and I hope to do some reverse psychology.
Okay, so Jamie, what's your thoughts on this one?
See, I'm going to disagree with James because I think this is the perfect game for the Ospreys to have a reaction when you're playing your rivals. I think this is the one game where they are going to have to really put on a show because they're at home. They've come off the back of a very disappointing defeat against the Dragons. There's no way they're going to be that poor again. They're not going to be as poor as they were against the Dragons. There's no way. They won't allow that. Toby Booth won't allow it. I do have concerns about the Scarlets front five. I think that's an area where the Ospreys can target. They have got the best squad out of all the regions. I am going to tip the Ospreys because I do think they're going to be hurt and rather let down by that performance in Newport. And I do expect them to bounce back. But we've got to see more from George North, I'm afraid, because he was absolutely anonymous last week. And you need your big name players to really step up. I thought Darry Lake was outplayed by Bradley Roberts. There were too many, there were too many big name players for me, for the Ospreys, that didn't show up on Saturday. They didn't show up, and we can't have that again. And I don't think it will happen against the Scarlets at home. So I'm going to go for Ospreys by 8.
Ospreys by 8. Okay, Harley.
For pure vibes, I've gone Ospreys by 1. I have no rhyme or reason to it. I've just gone for that. The one thing James should be worried about is I've been wrong on all but one of the Ospreys game results.
Sorry, mate, I've been wrong on all of them. So
yeah,
I'll be honest. My Scarlets ones have been a lot more accurate. I've tended to predict that, but I mean, it was quite easy with their first 2 opponents.
Yeah,
and then I was wrong with the Cardiff derby. That was the one time I backed Cardiff, based purely being biased Cardiff fan, and it blew up in my face.
Okay, so you're going Ospreys by 1.
Yep.
So, I think for me, I almost agree with you, James, that it's coming off a difficult game against the Dragons. There was injuries, there's all that kind of stuff. Scarlets have actually come out of the Leinster game pretty much in a good place. We found out a lot about a lot of players. There's a couple of players there that were going, okay, you probably just need to sit out the rest of the season and we'll take the hit. So yeah, I think that normally when you've had a 50 odd points drubbing, you're in quite a negative place. Scarlets aren't this season. So, yeah, I'm going to go for a Scarlets win. And I'm going to go for a Scarlets win by 5.
You do surprise me.
Yeah.
You never took the Scarlets to lose. There's no point asking you for your prediction, is there? You can't be honest.
There is, but what's the point of being a fan and then predicting against? But no, I think it's going to be.
You're Carwin. You're the Scarlet Carwin. Honest to God, it's absolutely pointless asking your predictions.
Right, okay, let's do prediction league then, fucking smart ass.
Right? Whoa, no. This is to make me look more shit now. I haven't even said anything.
So this is the way our prediction league works, right? So we've got 2 totals there. So every week we have a guess who's going to win by however many. Yeah. So we'll then compare that with the actual results. Yeah. So let's just use last week's game as an example. Yeah. So Zebra and Cardiff 22-all. That's a draw. Nobody predicted a draw. So Harley was 2 points out. Yeah. James, you were 5 points out. Jamie, you were 5 points out as well. And I was 3 points out. Yeah. So Harley was the least shit. So he gets 4 points because there's 4 of us. So he gets 4 points. I was second least shit. So I get 3 points. And you 2 have 2 points because you were next in line. Yeah. So then you add those all up, you get 4 points if you're closest, 3, 2, 1, blah, 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 blah. Right. So then the running totals at the minute, the scores so far. Harley is miles in the lead on 52 points so far this season. Yeah. 52 points in the lead. Next comes Jamie on 43. Yeah, so still 9 points behind. No, 11. Yeah, 9 points behind. And then level with Jamie is me. So if I'm shit at predicting these scores, Jane, I'm level with you. Yeah. So
you always predict the Scarlets win. You're never realistic. You're never honest about it. You've always like Scarlets no matter. No. I want to hear you come out one day and go, I think this would be a tough ask for the Scarlets and we'll lose. You never say it though. You'll never say it.
What was my prediction last week for? Okay, fair enough. You weren't here last week. What was my?
You said Leinster by 10.
There you go. I predicted a Scarlet.
Bloody hell! I must have missed that.
Yeah, you weren't here.
That's the first time. No, seriously, that's the first time I've ever heard you predict the Scarlets loss. It must have been. Yeah. In all the times I've done this pod.
It's been rare. I just want
to point out this one thing with the scoring system because only one of us has gotten a single result spot on.
Last year was I suppose.
Yeah.
No, it's James.
I thought
got the Dragons Edinburgh score spot on. Yeah. Jamie's had 2 1 point off, and then I've had a couple of the 2s and 3s.
But James is bottom of the league on 36 points.
Whoa, no.
Arguably
I would just like to plead my case and say I inherited a fucking sinking ship here.
1 week. You missed the first week.
I am essentially the Toby Booth of the fucking WRRAP Podcast, inherited from Carwin's Alan Clark.
Those were Carwin's predictions. So James hasn't actually got a perfect one. Carwin left on a perfect score.
Carwin was top of the table when you joined, and then you just fucked it from there. You're the John Plumtree of
the Alan Clark I've lost to the Kings at home.
Right. Okay. So that's how our prediction table works, boys. So every now and again we will delve into that. So before we finally finish up tonight, there's just one thing I wanted to say. James did something on the Ospreys pod last week, which was really, really good. So if you go back and listen to the Ospreys pod, James did a thing about a little quiz about who's played for the Ospreys and the Dragons. Yeah. Which it worked really well, didn't it, James? And you had loads of people commenting and all of that kind of stuff. Some people getting quite aggressive with some of the people.
Can I just say this? And I hate to dob my fellow presenter in because Yeston was fucking useless at it, by the way. Right? For a bloke who knows everything about the Ospreys and can tell me like all of Tyler Ardron's individual passes from 2014-15, You couldn't tell me Richard Hibbard played for the fucking Dragons and the Ospreys.
Oh, I forgot about
In fairness, that's just because he only knows about the Ospreys. He doesn't know anything about the other regions.
Well,
I forgot Hibbard. And Fussell. That's another one I forgot.
Fussell's the one I
Oh,
forgot
yeah.
as well.
to say,
But
Should
then I
Fussell-
try and forget Fussell
Yeah.
exists all the time because he's our attack coach.
Yeah. Good for the Dragons, though. Good play for the Dragons.
So anyway, we've taken that this week. So we've done the Scarlets pod for this week, and we've already started that. So we've done players going from Scarlets to Ospreys, and I've got to say, there's a lot more players went Scarlets to Ospreys than have come Ospreys to Scarlets. So James is going to do Ospreys to Scarlets this week, and as we go forward, I think we'll just kind of keep doing that because it's really, really addictive.
Hey, can you imagine doing Scarlets to Dragons? Fucking hell. You see now
Fucking hell,
me with
man.
a straw.
I was going to make that point because I have actually listened to it, managed to listen to it, the
Well-
Scarlet's pod today, and you said that you can't think of a single Dragons player who went to Scarlets, and I instantly went, "You've missed a name, and it's a name we mention week in, week out at the moment." Well, maybe not so much this week because he's injured, but I can't believe you forgot about him. Also, how did you forget Tavis Noel played for all the regions? It was a big thing on the Ospreys.
I didn't think Tavis Noel played for Ospreys. Anyway, this is how addictive this bloody thing gets. And so we asked that question last night, so we put it out before we previewed the Ospreys game. And about halfway through talking about the Ospreys game, and we're going, and Martin's talking about the scrummer, and I think we need to do this, and then Hugh goes, Gavin Henson. How did I forget? I go, what the fuck have you been doing? The last 10 minutes, you've been looking for players. So,
I'll be honest,
yeah.
I was with you. I forgot Lee Byrne played for Scarlets as well.
Yeah, no one remembers that. They were the dark days.
Yeah. Anyway, do join in on social media with that because it is good fun, and it's going to be one of those things that I think quite enjoyable. So, with that in mind, so this is the bit that winds Jamie up because I keep forgetting to say it. Do follow us on social media. Follow us on Facebook, on Twitter, on what's the other one, Instagram, and all of that kind of bollocks.
YouTube.
Yeah, follow us on YouTube because we do loads of other stuff on YouTube as well. Subscribe on YouTube because apparently if you get like 100 subscribers, YouTube lets you do other things with fancy bits and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, do follow us on there. We're available on Apple. We're available on YouTube. We're available on fucking everywhere. I should know. I've got about 20 of them to monitor at a minute, but there we go. So do like, subscribe, comment, and all that kind of stuff. But more than that, enjoy your rugby, everybody. Have a good weekend. It's going to be a massive weekend. Not if you're an Osprey supporter, but it's going to be a good weekend for everybody else. So enjoy your rugby, gents. Have a good one. We'll catch up again and do it all again next week. All the best, boys.
Have a good
Bye
one.
now.